No, that thumbnail wasn't clickbait, but damn would it have felt that way a few years ago. MegaMan and Base has this growing aura about it, and for good reasons. The game has largely been labeled a spin-off entry, over time that came to fruition a little over a year after the release of Mega Man 8. A Mega Man 8.5 if you will, that borrows a good deal of assets from its 32-bit predecessor. The little brother companion game that was surprisingly debuting for the Super Famicom, exclusive to Japan. By doing so, Capcom could cater to newcomers and loyalists alike whom hadn't made the jump to the next-gen systems so that they too had something to sink their teeth into. Now, unfortunately, living here stateside, this didn't exactly benefit me, as this was unattainable for a good portion of my childhood. We would be blessed by a release in years to come, through one particularly unfavorable port for the GBA, which treated fans to some of the most horrendous screen crunch imaginable, thus rewarding this here a spot on the wall of shame. Around its initial inception in '98, classic Mega Man was slowly becoming an afterthought over at Capcom, as the X series was quickly reaching critical acclaim. The original Blue Bomber had officially embraced that classic moniker now attached to his name. It's like going down to the DMV and finally being able to purchase one of those sweet vintage license plates for your old muscle car back in the garage. Loved by the masses, but quickly replaced on the highway by the latest make and model. When I finally got my hands on the GBA port, I had simply purchased it for the novelty of it. I already had my heart broken by witnessing those pitiful magazine screen grabs, so over time I would eventually score a Super Famicom copy. However, regardless of circumstances, I found the game was still heavily scrutinized for its high difficulty and perceived as unplayable by the overall majority. A game that I adored for its remarkable audio and visual showcase on a 16-bit console with a playable option for bass, that's commendable on these features alone, yet inevitably became the black sheep of the franchise, consistently left off the invite list at every family reunion to date. I never understood companies casting off entries from their history due to shortcomings. I mean, the same shit happened to Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy, and that's another one of my personal favorites. Yes, it's by far easier than the other 4 handheld entries on the Game Boy, but outside the jank sound, it really wasn't that bad. There's nothing wrong with the gameplay throughout, and it brought us another totally misunderstood character. I'm convinced Capcom was trying to Hakai from existence at a moment in time. So it's safe to say this little gem right here was misrepresented for many years by the masses, only getting the praise it deserves today. But hey, that's the internet for you as a whole. It only takes one viral video for everything to change. You wake up one day and the narrative changes, like that friend you know that now all of a sudden was a Mega Man fan. So I can't wait to see what's in store for 2027. Oh yeah, that's right, stay clear of the splash zone people, because the annual gooning must commence. So while we can briefly ride a high tide of positivity, let's take a deeper dive into unforeseen events as I put my very own Rockin' Cat twist on our Blue Bomber's most controversial tale with none other than Mega Man and Bass. Although it felt as if a lifetime passed before I received this port, one good thing did come out of this. That's a localized story adaptation of these current events unfolding. Remember, this released around the height of the X series, so the fate of classic Mega Man was very much a topic point of discussion. These were exciting times. It felt as if we were finally getting some answers pertaining to the very bridge that connected our two universes together, especially when you consider how technologically advanced these new Robot Masters were becoming. By the time we reached Mega Man 8, Robot Masters were evolving at a rapid rate, with some of the most recent findings hailing from the vast reaches of space. With that said, our story now opens shortly after these very discoveries, displacing our latest threat, coming in the form of evil energy, back into the ethos where Wily can't get his grubby little mitts on it. Speaking of Wily, it appears he went on a leave of absence, leaving this castle wide open to outside forces. Enter King, a highly advanced robot of unspecified origin, whom looks to slowly amass an army of the world's most advanced robots, with the intent of leading a rebellion against mankind. His justifications for doing so is widely complex, theorizing that robots were designed for far greater roles than glorified servants of man, but rather successors whom would pave the future. Thus, he would begin to elaborate on these beliefs further by acquiring knowledge on his very framework, extracting intelligence from both Dr. Wily and Dr. Light, to form his own army of elite robot masters. The parallels to a Maverick rebellion are awfully striking here, are they not? Oh, and fun fact, much like future Reploids, King lacks a Wily DWN number, which is ironic because he branded his very own soldiers with their own personal serial numbers. Just some food for thought here as we move forward. Taking a further look into the manual will give us a bit more insight on King's motives here, whom declares that any robot who proves himself superior to humans should rule the Earth. As he proceeds to make his way to the Robot Museum shortly thereafter, he continues his research, extracting past Robot Master data to create the blueprints of war. With his presence now felt throughout the city, a returning Dr. Wily arrives home in a panic, with no other choice than to reach out to his former colleague, as the two scientists dispatch their two greatest warriors, whom touch down on familiar stomping grounds, as they make their way back to the old Robot Museum to confront this colossal new threat. As our story opens up, our two heroes will wrap their way around the inner hallways of the old robot exhibit, only now, it appears to have been overhauled with a few new renovations since our last visit. Funny enough, now without any robot masters on display, hollowed out at the core with a full-blown obstacle course to venture through. This stage has some killer potential for an opening act, but feels more so like a glorified tutorial to get your wings up underneath you for the shitstorm that's brewing below. King's chilling presence ushers in a hailstorm of problems that will keep you on the seat of your pants till you find out the hard way just who this game was ultimately designed around. As you reach the King's Chamber, you'll notice a few trouble models on display, which begs the question, is the lack of robot masters due to cartridge limitations, or is there something else brewing behind the scenes here, as you're now formally introduced to the Almighty, whom is currently in the middle of processing data to amass his militia. As our duo confronts King, they get a quick assist from Proto Man, whom looks to intervene on this Robo's plan of a new world order. However, plans quickly go south for our brave hero, as he finds himself on the opposing end of King's battle axe, giving him a taste of its curved blade, quickly decapitating poor Proto Man as an example to those whom oppose him. These heroics merely entertain King momentarily, now whisking off to analyze his latest findings, which now leaves our heroes in a rather sticky situation. A possessed goo devil now towers over our team, butting off some sticky green sidekicks whom look to chip away at your defenses. Once you've had enough here, take aim with your buster cannon, lining up your crosshairs with the center of its gelatin core, hollowing out his circuitry to make a statement here and now, as it's time to put some damn respect on our blue bomber's name. Our overworld opens quite a bit differently than prior installments. In the past, we were welcome to the choose-your-own-adventure style format, giving you the option to choose either 4 or 8 robot masters from the start, in any order in which you choose. Here, however, we have a large part of that order carved out for us in advance, with some branching pathways the farther you venture down this road. Head-scratching, I know, but there's a method to this madness you will uncover in due time. But for now, let's make the best of a cold open, just as the name etched across our latest Robot Master implies, for a crash course in what's to come. An Arctic wonderland, layered in some icy trials that are carved out with more branching pathways to venture across. The biggest challenge you're going to face from the start is recovery, in more than one way, in fact, mentally and physically, from the odd enemy placement, especially if you're MegaMan, whom has well-defined limitations in comparison to his buddy Base. Personally, platforming for me is a cakewalk with Base, as his slide and double jump feels like the prototype for what's to come throughout the X series, allowing you to kick up speed as you please to soar over those challenging platforming segments. As MegaMan, well, not so much. He's that classic muscle I mentioned earlier, great for spooling up some raw power, especially on those straight and narrow paths, but he isn't going to be doing those flashy new tricks Base is capable of. For some odd reason, Capcom loves to take shit away from MegaMan at every opportunity, which is rich considering the absurd amount of armor upgrades he gets in the X series. I guess continuity doesn't apply once you hit a certain number of games, huh? Be sure to swing by Auto's shop at some point. It's packed full of goodies to help elevate your game. New and old favorites alike are up for sale, which need to be unlocked the further you venture down this so-called hellhole. For now, you're pretty much good to go for the most part, so grab the essentials and keep it moving. You'll find tiny CDs scattered across each stage, requiring you to use those sweet abilities of yours, now divided up amongst these two brobots, in order to retrieve them. As base, you're gonna uncover these with finesse, just like the many tasks you're met with along the way, performed with confidence, especially when utilizing the double jump. They're essentially data on pre-existing robot masters that make for some sweet trading cards, might I add. A beautiful representation of the entire classic series of characters up until this point. Your footwork, or lack thereof, can make or break a run in many cases, crippling your progress, especially as MegaMan. However, in the same breath, dare I say, this feels done by design, as if MegaMan was merely an afterthought here. Perhaps Capcom was leading on to something here, especially when you look at this game from a marketing standpoint. Capcom wasn't exactly gung-ho on building the future of the franchise around any other character, so when critiquing this further, we gotta keep this in mind. Still though, having two unique characters for this playthrough only makes this that much sweeter. I mean, come on now, we didn't get anything close to this with Mega Man 8, so it seems odd to think this is considered a pint-sized Mega Man 8. Yeah, sure thing. For whatever reason, they decided to stick the most broken of the 8 stages out here from the very start, which in my opinion is one of the primary reasons this game gets an initial bad rap. The culprit here staring back at us, now in both stage offering as well as Robot Master. This dude is apparently weak against ice, yet positioning him to take the brunt of the attack is damn near impossible. He needs to feel the frostbite, up close and personal, only then can I send him packing along down the sides of the stage. But in order to do so, you need to practice this maneuver repeatedly, which requires a great deal of trial and error, which you won't exactly have when you eventually pull up on him. Burner Man has no issues breaking through your icy defenses, that is, unless the fluke incident occurs, where you catch him off guard while cruising on by. Underwater levels are never a fun time, but surprisingly, Pirate Man's theme just might be the exception here. A majestic underwater exploit layered in beautiful visuals and a whimsical melody that makes you forget you're playing the Super NES. No, seriously, I was ready to pop the disc right out of my PlayStation upon taking a break here. Then I looked at my controller and realized what I was playing. Jokes aside, I found myself humming this tune more often than less, as this tune captures that aquatic ambiance of the high seas battling aquatic crustaceans, all while marveling at the sweet sunken ship residing in the far-off distance at the bottom of the sea. There's plenty of treasures now coming to life, and creatures that dwell just out of sight. You'll be holding it down till you catch a ride ashore, but not before you have it out with the captain himself. Don't sweat it though. It's hard not to be prepared for the robot masters of Mega Man and Bass. As I mentioned prior, you only have a few options to go with from the start, potentially giving you a far greater chance of having the proper enemy skill for the upcoming battle. Well, that's not so bad after all. You'll still have your work cut out for you if you don't do your homework beforehand, but that's sort of the trade-off here, allowing you to approach each stage with varying degrees of difficulty. With the bounty claimed on Pirate Man, it looks to be a good time to make your way below ground, where we find some underground catacombs filled with mystery and mayhem at every turn. These underground chambers are filled with tiny puzzles to keep you off the scent of the many treasures that lie beneath. A complex labyrinth carved out with an impressively designed system of interlinked segments that will require some mental planning to make your way through to your desired destination. The deeper you venture, the more puzzles arise, with a variety of complexity that may stump both man and machine. Just be sure not to fall victim to temptation here, as a vast assortment of these prizes lie beneath the shifting sands. Roundman resides in the center of this maze. He's got a wicked toolset too, which allows him to transform at will into whatever infernal device he sees fit to level the playing field. A total terror to deal with, whom uses the entirety of these surroundings to his advantage, carving out pathways to bury you further under, so keep your composure and track his every movement to reroute your pathway to victory. You'll find over time that King has recruited a few of Wily's robot masters into his army. I guess you're either with him or against him. I mean, a robot utopia doesn't sound bad compared to the shoe shining you'll be doing serving Dr. Wily. Thus, King has now repackaged these two for their own personal redemption arc. Gone are the days of those brilliant shoot-'em-up segments. What you're left with here are some painful platforming segments. However, it will get better in time upon reaching the halfway point here. There's something unique about each stage that plays off the central theme of each Robot Master, incorporating in fun interactive experiences that gives you an advantage as you soar to new heights. Speaking of new heights, the planetarium has fallen on rough times, losing some of that much needed funding from Dr. Wily. The new Astro Man attempts to have the last laugh here, but unfortunately, the joke's on him. Being dealt the wrong hand this time around, so slice him to pieces once he calls your bluff with a punishing royal flush. Well, thanks for the cards there, Magic Man. I mean, honestly, it's hard to claim this game as the little cousin of Mega Man 8, especially when you got Robot Masters and enemy skills such as these right here. Magic Man is one of my absolute favorite designs, and his expressions throughout the exchange steals the show. Although you could sort of see some influence bleed over from the likes of Clown Man, with the stage design largely built with similar assets, yet the platforming itself feels far more traditional. If you play through the game initially as Mega Man, you'll get that feeling from the very start, yet as base, what you assume to be poor design choices prior become an afterthought, now almost rewarding at times. I had little to no problem soaring across a large portion of the more frustrating challenges here I was plagued with prior. It also becomes more apparent as events and cutscenes unfold, placing a strong emphasis on Base's character development, especially with each Robot Master defeated. Well, here we are, the reason you came to this show today. All those forks in the road to get here soon begin to make sense once entering this little gem of a stage. From the musical bop to the high-speed conveyor belts that'll make them drop. This is my breakout stage, a sequence of mechanical highs and lows that flow perfectly from start to end. Taking an idea and executing at the highest degree, right down to the very design of Dynamo Man himself. Everything else feels like a precursor. Quite literally, the dude requires you to have a full inventory of weapons prior to this encounter, because you'll be required to shuffle through them to stop this assault as he brings the noise with some cleverly sequenced attack strategies. Oh, and by the way, his firepower is off the charts. He almost reminds me of those killer Darkman robots back in Mega Man 5 due to how tactile he can be. He will go through multiple phases that will allow him to fully recharge his health bar if you don't find a solution fast enough. The primary reason I wanted to come back and revisit the Robot Master order we touched upon earlier, just further exemplifying the added level of detail here. Once our duo dismantles King's army, they'll reach the newly remodeled King's Fortress. However, to gain access, they'll have to shatter the crystal barrier that protects the perimeter. A stage that essentially gives you the opportunity to go into the final act with some much needed upgrades. Through mastery of your 8 newly acquired enemy skills, you must solve a corresponding puzzle, with each netting you an additional 100 bolts, so hurry and grab the best upgrades the shop can offer you as you now make your way deep inside King's Fortress, which essentially unfolds similarly to the X Saga, through a series of trials spread across each act. Before you can do so, you gotta take care of some real monkey business beforehand. Playing your hand strategically can limit a good deal of these shenanigans, lining up your projection just right for a direct line of fire as you teeter-totter along the wacky platforms, just long enough to prepare for liftoff. Round 2, gang, and the make or break point for the casual Mega Man fan out there. It's absolutely warranted too for a Mega Man playthrough, primarily due to the grind across King's Trials, which, to be fair, is essentially where the bulk of this story unfolds. As you begin to tackle King's assortment of war machines, 2 scenarios are simultaneously unfolding before us. In one scenario, we have a robot that is struggling to latch on to any and every upgrade to assist him during these chaotic rounds, while another is using the tools given by his creator to triumph with ease in those do-or-die situations. This, in my opinion, has little to do with limiting Mega Man as an added hard mode, yet everything to do with the natural evolution of the series. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy playing as the Blue Bomber. He's my favorite character of all time, but the attributes of Base is clearly what this sequence was designed for, with the optional Mega Man playthrough existing here as simply fan service. As the series progressed, so did level design, and with greater design choices, further upgrades to Mega Man was required. Which brings me back to my Mega Man 9 rant, and why I continue to say advancements such as the slide, charge, and rush adapters were so integral to the series evolving. Utilizing these design philosophies kept the series fresh and thriving for over a decade at this point. Where some may enjoy the simplified gameplay of a Mega Man 2, it still sets the series back and makes Mega Man feel stale and dated. This isn't a matter of aesthetics. Hell, I love the 2D style of these games. This is my bread and butter. It has everything to do with gameplay, which is why I felt we took a huge step backwards with Mega Man 9, which only led to things getting more complicated when allocating various mechanics to specific characters in Mega Man 10. What we have here is a point of progression in gameplay and level design through the inclusion of bass. The game is simply hard because the formula has evolved so much since the X series, leaving the player limited to the confines of an older playstyle that doesn't fit here as Mega Man. With advancements in robotics, we would have advanced models, which is why Mega Man was constantly getting upgrades to the point our guy was looking like a transformer just to go toe-to-toe with Bass, only to ultimately have Capcom nerf him over time. Hey, if you want to do that, why not just make an Origins game starring Proto Man taking place before Mega Man 1? You just can't give them upgrades to just pretend events never happened. What Capcom ultimately failed to do was pass the torch here when it was warranted, instead opting to set things back by relying on the tired, oversimplified formula that was Mega Man 2. When you are finally able to track King down, you have a quick back and forth exchange, only to find your attacks don't appear to faze him. It soon feels like all hope is lost, until that is, a newly repaired Proto Man burst in to lend a hand, performing a big bang attack that would even make the King of Saiyans proud. As a result, our boy will manage to destroy his massive shield, giving Mega Man and Bass a real chance here. So go to work, evading his rushdown offense till you put him away. In moments that pass, Wily will appear on the big screen and begin to scold the big brute for his disobedience, which in a turn of events is revealed that King was designed by Wily as a way to rid him of two problems at once. Taken back by this turn of events, Wily cranks up the brainwashing of King's circuitry for another brutal beating of our heroes, now fleeing to the next chamber where his prior war vessels assemble into a fully functional Megazord. There's not much new to see here, so proceed to dissect them once more, till King is again brought to his senses, clearing a pathway to pursue Wily further. As the room around you begins to crumble, King bids farewell to our heroes, coming to terms with his fate as our now reformed Big Brother bot was not designed with a teleport system in his blueprints, as the fortress structure caves in around him. As you continue your way towards the top of this fortress, you'll put your platforming knowledge on display with a series of mini-courses that leads up to each Robot Master's rematch. It can be intimidating at first glance, but take them in strides, using your surroundings to keep you fully charged up every step of the way till you locate Wily's whereabouts. Wily returns with a variation of his Skull Cruiser from Mega Man 8, the Mach 2 if you will, with a slew of vintage weaponry that will chop our boys to bits. Over time, Wily will begin to feel the pressure, charging back and forth with little to no rhyme or reason, simply looking to catch you off guard. A pretty tame fight overall, with blueprints that don't stray too far away from the tried and true formula you have grown accustomed to, now finding Wily popping out the escape hatch for a last-ditch effort to thwart your advances. Listen, if you're playing this entry, then I assume it won't be your first rodeo here. Hell, this ain't no Mega Man 7 Wily capsule fight either. So, going in with those expectations, you're quickly maneuvering past these supercharged orbital assaults with ease, sliding underneath them and lighting him up with each pass, till moments later, you've come to realize you somehow overcame the impossible odds that was Mega Man and Bass. With the fall of Wily's fortress, Mega Man reflects on today's events, heartbroken at the thought that the once misunderstood King lost his life without having the opportunity to see the potential of a world where robots and mankind work together for the betterment of all. However, in a shocking turn of events, Mega Man receives an unmarked letter written by King who notifies our hero he is very much alive and well, thriving due to the lessons bestowed upon him, thanking the Blue Bomber for his many acts of kindness. On the other end of today's story, Base remains conflicted by the idea that Wily would betray him, now scoffing at the Mad Doctor in the wake of his embarrassing defeat. In an attempt to reconcile with Base, Wily claims that King was merely created to test Base's limits, which is ironic due to the fact that a King 2 was already in the pre-production phase, which is quickly put on the shelf the moment Proto Man teleports down into his lab, wiping the blueprints right out of existence, now leaving us with a comical exchange to end our story. With the blueprints for a King 2, we could arguably predict where this series was headed for a brief moment in time. As with new advancements in robotics, came the further concern of mankind's loss of control, becoming more apparent as the story progressed. We begin to witness a change in King's motives the same way Base's loyalty to Wily sways with each passing series installment, and with due time, Wily would create a pattern to maintain that control, perhaps even using the very essence of evil energy to do so. Is it me, or does this proclaimed brainwashing of King exhibit traits similar to robots who have been exposed to evil energy? I mean, the purple tint reminds me of the aura of another robot we discovered back in MegaMan 8. We also find that the robot masters of that game became infused with that same evil energy, so what's to say this isn't some sort of modified strand utilized by Wily as a precursor to the Sigma virus? It does give robot masters heightened powers, while also providing Wily control. All theories aside, you begin to see parallels to the X series, and if the power battles told us anything, it's that Zero now lays dormant somewhere inside Wily's lab. Which again is why I feel this story was told to further build up Base, who must come to terms with the fact that one day he must align himself with Light Labs as a true successor. Playing through this, it only showcases this that much more with Mega Man's limitations, placing our two robots at a crossroads with Base leading the charge to overcome Wily. You could argue this was very much visited in Mega Man 3 as a way to show the evolution in Light's creations. If we discovered anything from Mega Man 9, it's every robot has an expiration date, and I believe that's what we are seeing here. The bridge to the X series didn't end with Mega Man facing Zero. No, it was very much Base defending himself from Zero upon waking inside Wily's lab. Mega Man and Base feels like a journey that at a moment in time attempted to bring our Blue Bomber story full circle. For me personally, this felt like a good bookend to the classic series, with Mega Man and Base being the catalyst to bridge the generational gap, finding a worthy successor in Base, whom was slowly growing into the hero he was destined to be. Although initially received with a lukewarm reception, this little title has only grown more and more appreciated with time. This was no doubt a renaissance period at Capcom, pushing the classic series forward with not only a fresh face, but one that would bring new play mechanics to the table, unfolding to new game design, finding clever new ways to incorporate in his unique toolset to bring us fun new installments, as opposed to stripping things away to cater to past entries. Mega Man is hands down my favorite character of all time. That will never change. A hero whom initially fared far beyond anyone's expectations. A household robot that was rebuilt into a fighting machine when it was needed the most. Fast forward to present day, and that blueprint stands before that very hero, one built for that sole purpose. This is a story that pays tribute to a franchise's past and present, united under one entry to usher in the future of the classic series. What we have here is the beginning of Base's legacy, a character with the fighting potential to close the gap between the classic and X series. A game which at one moment in time gave us clues to piece together that bridge from the original story to the X series. But hey, that's just my theory, and we all know how things eventually would pan out over the years. Something tells me this won't be the end of my crazy childhood theories. What if there existed an alternate future, perhaps a timeline without that hero we're so desperately searching for? One merely torn by the sight of his own reflection, the shadows of one's haunting past. Till next time, Brobots, same rockin' time, same rockin' channel.